Irish guy, and I am not English. I think that's clear. Do I sound like a posh bloke from London who would beat his butler with a teapot if he served him a burnt scone? But to me, this is still sad. You know what is truly pathetic? This is now the 8th major tournament in a row where England have played at a group stage match and failed to score. Ever since Euro 2012, England have failed to score in different tournaments against Costa Rica, Slovakia, Belgium, Scotland, USA, and now Slovenia. This is so grim. England fans will have forked out ridiculous chunks of cash to afford their tickets and accommodation at these tournaments. And this is the sort of gruel they're being served. It's a bit like if you pay £10,000 to have a luxury honeymoon on some 5-star Caribbean island. And once you get there, the chain-smoking waiter half-heartedly chucks you a drink menu covered in his snots and then has to rip a steak out of a stray cat's mouth to throw it on your plate. I feel so bad for England fans piling into that stadium last night, expecting to see a reaction, some attacking verve and bravery, anything. But no, those poor England fans. Won't someone think of Alfie? So what if I'm stalking his vlogs?
Hang my curtains, Alfie!
No, just kidding. Christ. Look, I am going to touch on the Declan Rice world-class debate later in the video, but first, what sort of chance does England have playing at a tournament like this? The players want to try and hoodwink the public into thinking,
oh, the objective was to get top spot, and we got top spot. Mission accomplished. It's all part of the master plan.
I'm sorry, but what about spending 1 minute after the final whistle, paralyzed with fear, nervously waiting to hear if Denmark scored against Serbia, which would have consigned them to second in the group in a date with Germany? What part about that uncomfortable wait, reminiscent of when Manchester United players awkwardly strolled around Sunderland's ground, waiting to hear if Man City had indeed bottled the title against QPR? What part of that was part of the plan? 5 points was never part of Southgate's plan. Because forget about that being enough to top the group. 5 points and a goal difference of +1. I have seen Italy exit the European Championships group stage with that exact total back in Euro 2004. Again, like England, they were also in Group C. And like England, they were also beaten finalists in the previous Euros. And so we're entering this tournament with a vengeance, right? Yeah, the Italians also toiled to a draw against Denmark. 0-0, by the way. They also got a 1-1 draw in their second game against Sweden before squeaking a narrow 2-1 win over Bulgaria in the final group match. That was essentially England's group in reverse. That Italy side were a national shame, by the way. They just delivered exactly what England just delivered, but because the results didn't go their way in the other games, they were seen as a joke, a complete disgrace. Their decorated manager, Giovanni Trapattoni, was forced to step down in shame. His next job in international management would be with us, the Republic of Ireland. Ouch. I mean, tell Southgate that'll be his next international management job. A job where you probably only get paid in cookies and hugs, and he would probably choke in his tie. Italy were eliminated in a time where the stakes at European Championship group stage was high. I mean, nowadays, you can lose 2 matches and still somehow meekly slip through in third. Embarrassing. Honestly, Italy had the bulk of the same team who would win the World Cup 2 years later, so they arguably could have done some damage in the knockout rounds. To me, it was certainly a better team than England's supposed golden generation. I mean, come on. Buffon, Zambrotta, Cannavaro, Nesta, Panucci, Pirlo, Gattuso, Del Piero, Totti, Camoranesi, Vieri. Tell me that is not a more balanced and world-class side than Southgate's bunch. But yes, right now England are producing the same level of performance as Italy did at Euro 2004, and they were branded a national disgrace. Although Italy, they actually pathetically complained that they were the victim of collusion, that Denmark and Sweden had intentionally agreed to play out a 2-2 draw in the final match to eliminate Italy together.
Victory for the Vikings!
Yeah, I'm sorry, but back in the mid-2000s, I don't think you could find a more ironic nation than Italy to be accusing anyone of match fixing. It would be like Johnny Depp marching into a pub and accusing some bloke of being drunk. If England were playing at the Euros in a harsher climate nowadays, where 5 points is sometimes not enough, and in an era where third definitely means exit, then Southgate could realistically have just led England to the most embarrassing exit from a Euro since 2000. Okay, quick interruption to tell you that this video is sponsored by HelloFresh. Now, you may all think that I've been a malnourished squirrel of a man for years, living off dead spiders I find on my carpet, and whilst that may be true, HelloFresh are my new saviors, and they should be yours too. I mean, are you caught up in the hassle of your daily routine? Are you struggling to find time to eat because you're too busy ironing creases out of your scarf? Well, HelloFresh is perfect. The food is incredibly exquisite. Look at what you can have on that app. Look, I'm eating an actual steak sandwich. This is such a wonderful experience. I feel like I'm walking on the moon. I make such a change to having to lick yogurt off your neighbor's bin. You can enjoy delicious meals such as these without even breaking the bank. Starting off with just £3.15 per serving. Look at all the wonderful recipes you can have with their chef picks and street food selections. This is such creative eating and it's healthy too. Look, I'm gonna give you an offer. Get 60% off your first box and 20% off for the next 2 months and free desserts for life using my unique code irishguyf4l using the link on screen that will be in the description below, or just scan the QR code on screen. HelloFresh is absolutely perfect. England so far just remind me of the burnt out England at the 2010 World Cup. You know, the one where Wayne Rooney turned into the camera and said,
"Nice to see your own fans booing you."
Yeah, nobody in the current England team has come out and said those exact words to camera in such a blunt, obvious way, but that has been the narrative all week.
Oh, you need to get behind the team. Gary Lineker's being too mean. Someone needs to get him a swear jar.
Jared Bowen said Lineker wasn't PG enough. Sorry, it was a football podcast? Not an episode of Big Bear in the Blue House. Lads, England at the 2010 World Cup were hopeless. Many of the players were coming off great seasons. Frank Lampard had just belted in 27 goals from midfield as Chelsea won the Prem. Wayne Rooney had just smacked in a sensational 34 goals for Man United. Even Jermaine Defoe had an undeniable 24-goal season for Spurs, featuring a match where he scored 5 in one half against Wigan. And yet, at the World Cup, they were all miserably dull, drawing 1-1 with the United States, then a horrible 0-0 with Algeria, and then finally a crucial 1-0 win over Slovenia, to once again squeak 5 points. Although they actually finished second, and so played Germany in the next round. Yeah, if they'd finished second this time, they would also have played Germany in the next round. But at least that England squad, they had a supreme serial winner like Fabio Capello at the wheel. England now have somebody with the tactical acumen of a blind lifeguard. I know everyone hated Capello, probably because he never smiled and was telling grown adult men not to eat toast. He was like the anti-Santa Claus, while Southgate, oh, he's everybody's mate. As we speak, he's probably painting Anthony Gordon's toenails. He's probably agreed to watch The Vampire Diaries with Cole Palmer tonight while sharing a big bag of wine gums. Tomorrow morning, he's probably playing Truth or Dare with Kyle Walker. Something tells me Kyle never chooses truth. Southgate is everybody's likable big bro, but he's terrible. If all it takes to be the England manager is just to be everybody's mate, then just make James Corden the boss. Someone who probably takes huge pride in having a famous phone book. Honestly, do you think that man has any non-celebrity friends? If you ain't a millionaire, he's probably praying for you to get eaten by a shark. England are abysmal. Look, they are in the easier side of the draw due to sheer luck. 5 points should not be enough to help you top the group. No chance. They got away with it this summer. They didn't in 2010. They have managed to avoid Germany now. If that had happened in 2010, and if they had topped that group, they would have played Ghana in the next round. And you know what? Probably would have won. Ghana were a decent African surprise package, sure. But come on, their best player had just finished bottom of the Premier League with Portsmouth. Their second best player would soon be wrapping up a move to Sunderland. England had a goalkeeping crisis that summer, sure. But forget about that excuse, because Ghana's number one goalie, Richard Kingston, his season had just consisted of 0 minutes and only sitting on the bench 4 times for Wigan. And would be about to sign for Blackpool in the summer. I think he was dodgier than David James. On paper, that Ghana team would have been about as scary as a teddy bear picnic. And funnily enough, their only win in that group stage was a 1-0 win over Serbia. Does that sound familiar, lads? Capello's men would have probably beaten them and then played Uruguay in the quarterfinals. A Uruguay who had a world-class strike force in Cavani, Suarez and Forlan, but very little else. England should have squeezed past them too to then set up a semi-final against a bruising, ugly Holland. All of a sudden, that 2010 World Cup would have looked like an England success if they had just topped the group. There are so many similarities in the build up to this tournament. I mean, Crespo, the current Premier League title winning captain, had his face plastered all over the newspapers after getting involved in some horrible love triangle. Yeah, John Terry fitted exactly that description in 2010. In 2010, England were missing a big Manchester United centre half, Rio Ferdinand, who had succumbed to injury. In 2024, same thing with Harry Maguire, even though H-Mags is half the player at least. In 2010, England fans were frustrated by the manager's decision to leave an informed Chelsea winger called Cole on the bench. A creative maverick who could unlock defenses. Exact same thing in 2024. Honestly, lads, Joe Cole in 2010 was big news, failing to agree a new deal at Chelsea, and suddenly was having lucrative links with Arsenal, Manchester United, Tottenham and Liverpool. There was even one story showing that Man City were prepared to make him the best paid player in the league on a 4-year contract worth nearly £40 million. That was £180,000 a week in 2010, back when JLS were cool. Cole's agent was probably so excited he couldn't sleep, but no, City forgot about that plan and signed David Silva instead, while the Reds were stupid enough to give him 90 grand a week, and he was awful. He looked like somebody whose stomach was constantly filled with chicken nuggets and Sprite. Maybe Capello was right not to pick him when he was then about as quick as a constipated sheep. I mean, England's first choice left back Luke Shaw has been injured for the second half of the season for Man United. I mean, Ashley Cole in 2010 finished the season strongly for Chelsea, sure, playing the final 3 league games of the season against Stoke, Liverpool and Wigan. Yeah, Chelsea won those games by an aggregate score of 17-0. Well, he'd also missed 2 months with a broken ankle. Parallels everywhere! Well, lads, all English fans are squealing because James McClean just called Declan Rice overrated on Irish television. Lads, if you really think that's bad, just Google Eamon Dunphy. I grew up with an Irish pundit calling Steven Gerrard a nothing player during the 2006 World Cup that he had been found out 1 year after winning the Champions League on his own in the most epic ever final, just 2 weeks after giving the greatest FA Cup final performance of all time. He also called Cristiano Ronaldo a disgrace to the game months before he won a Ballon d'Or. But yeah, McClean called Rice overrated. And lads, you had a former England manager sycophantically leaping to Declan Rice's defense, saying, "Who is McClean? Who is McClean?" As if Sam Allardyce wouldn't have happily picked him every single week if they had crossed paths at Sunderland. Allardyce's entire gloriously mediocre managerial career consisted of picking players exactly like McClean every single week. Do you hear yourself speak, Sam? Turning your nose up at McClean's ability now, after you have a catalogue of average wingers in your past history. It's like if Ben Stiller turns out a movie script because, oh, it's too silly. You were Zoolander, mate? Honestly, I'm shocked Big Sam was such a lover of Rice. I always assumed he'd swap it for chips. But Rice has accused McClean of being bitter because he left Ireland. Sorry, bitter. All McClean said was that his former teammate was not world class. He said he was overrated. That doesn't mean he's bad. That means he thinks he isn't world class.
How dare you come and talk about... No, it's simply true. How dare you come talking about Declan Rice?
Yeah, man.
You cannot hold a candle to Declan Rice.
Yeah.
Declan Rice is not overrated.
He's not overrated.
Declan Rice produces week in, week out. What have you done? When have you been consistently good? You've been consistently poor.
What? Okay, Robbie, you're a staunch Arsenal fan, right? Okay. What do you think of Kim Kallstrom, Sebastian Scalacci, or Yaya Sonogo? 3 of the worst players in Arsenal's history. What do you think about them? I already know what you think. Rubbish, useless, terrible. Yeah, guess what, Rob? You can't hold a candle to them either. I mean, chuck yourself in a 5-cent pitch with Kim Kallstrom. I mean, let's make it happen down your local power league. I can promise you, the Swedish Kim K would not make you 6 times within the first 20 seconds. You would be embarrassed by Kim. Have a crossbar challenge with Sonogo. Don't blame me when your groin snaps like a twig. Robbie, you obviously aren't anywhere near as good as those guys. Does that mean you're not allowed an opinion on them? No, this is football. McClean does not need to be world class himself to be able to accuse Rice of being overrated. Do you see how this works? You're allowed a football opinion. England have been horrendous this summer. Truly hopeless. How? This is the luckiest topping of a group I have ever seen. The only reason you managed to sneak your way to the top is because of England's uninspiring 1-0 win over Serbia. That was the only win in Group C. And I don't just mean England's only win. No. That was the group's only win. It was Serbia's only defeat. England, Denmark, and Slovenia are all still unbeaten because the rest of the group featured 3 1-1 draws and 2 0-0s. You know, and insufferably frustrating that looks. A group completely devoid of any entertainment and fun. This 0-0 draw against Slovenia was completely ugly. This is a nation who were unable to beat Malta in March. Benjamin Sesko needed to scrape some morsel of dignity back by scoring a late equalizer. It's Malta! Malta! Who plays up front for them? The guy who sells ice cream at the beach? Did the left back clean the toilets at Pachaville? Slovenia boasts the 2nd best paid goalkeeper in the world. Malta's team were made of players from Hamrun Spartans and Salima Wanderers. Hamrun Spartans? They sound like that 300 film if the cast was made up exclusively of pigs. England failing to beat the Slovenia team is truly embarrassing. Anyway, that's the interview. Let me know what do you think. Let me know what do you think in the comments section below. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, share, and subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.